Okay, so this evening we're going to look at how we can set up our project board on Azure DevOps, which is one of your tools or the project tools that we will be using. Will be those are the things we'll be looking at tonight. And before we go practically on the Azure DevOps website, or yeah, to look at what we need to do, I just quickly want to give us a brief understanding so that by the time we start making mentions of terminologies, you're able to have an understanding and flow along with the training for tonight. So for this night session, we'll be looking at what is a project board. We'll look at the purpose of the project board. We'll look at what Azure DevOps really is, and then how to set up a project board on Azure DevOps. Okay, so project board. The project board is just a centralized resources that provide visuals and transparency for a team's workflow, and it increases the effectiveness in managing their work. So it's a collaborative tool that the team members use. It allows them to be able to see what is going on, what the team is working on at a particular time as they move ahead during the project. It's able to show you what you still need to do, what you're doing in progress, what is in progress, and then what you've done. And that helps you, that visualization helps you to collaborate more, to plan better, to look at where you have issues, impediments, so that you're able to resolve them together as a team. That's what your project board is. And the purpose for the project board is for the team, like I said, to be able to interact. You're able to interact, you're able to plan, you're able to track and monitor what you're doing. You're able to review, like I said, you inspect and then you adapt based on what you're seeing, the visualization you're seeing, and then manage the project in order for you to achieve the defined goals within the timeline of the projects that you've been given. Okay. All right, so we'll go to Azure DevOps itself. So what is Azure DevOps all about? It's a website that can be accessed through the web browser, and it provides a set of integrated features that can be used in planning, developing, maintaining a software development life cycle. Okay, so Azure DevOps is a cloud computing platform, and it is provided by Microsoft, and you can access it anywhere in the world. Like I said, it's cloud-based. So since it's cloud-based, it can be accessed anywhere in the world. Okay. And also it provides an opportunity for every team member to be able to work together, which I've said earlier on. So in the course of this training, these are the areas that we're going to cover. We're going to be able to create a project. We're going to be able to invite our team members on the project. We're going to be able to create an inherited process. Sorry about that. We're going to be able to change teams process from the default to the created inherited process. We'll look at dashboard, how you set up your dashboard. We'll look at how you change some default setting that came with the project board that you created, able to change some default sets so that it suits whatever you configured it to suit your team. Look at your team configuration, the backlog navigation level. By the time we get there, you'll be able to see all these different things we're going to be doing. And at each point, I will be telling you, so this is what we need to do now before I show you how to do it on the board. Okay, so we look at how we configure the board to include more columns. Everything you do in setting up the board, every stages we go through is so that it suits your team. So you know your team, you know the members in your team, you know the project you're working on, and then you're able to set up your board, configure it in such a way that it suits what your team is working on. So that's what we'll be doing. Okay, so I know invite has been sent out, and this is what everybody would have gotten from, I think that would be from yesterday till today. If you check your email, this is what everybody would have been able to get in your email. And for you to join the Blue Sky Azure website, all you need to do is to click on the join on it. So if there's anybody on this call that has not received any email, please put it not on this chat for the Zoom, just put it on your Telegram platform, and then your Scrum Masters will pick it up in order to deal with it. Also, quickly, Most people have been in touch with me to say that they are getting these screenshots you're seeing and they are not able to go further than this. So if you're getting this, that means you're accessing the organization's board already. Okay, why you're getting this is because you've not been put on the project yet. So you can't see your project board because we've not created that yet. But if you're getting this, if you've gotten to this stage, you're having access already onto the organization's Azure DevOps. So I'm going to stop this right now, and then we'll go on the website itself. Quickly, while I'm doing that, do we have any questions on what I've said so far? Any questions? All right, so this is the organization's Azure DevOps. You're all staffs that have just been employed to Blue Sky Citadel team or organization. And everyone has been added as a user onto the organization's Azure DevOps. Okay, so for the Scrum Masters, what you will be doing once you are added onto it is for you to create a project board for your team. And how you create your project board for your team is that you go to the top over here where you have new projects. Hope everyone can see that. Where you have the new project, you click on that. So if I click on this, I'm going to do a demo, and then we will have the team do the same afterwards. So you click on it, and then you put your project name there. For the purpose of this session, I'm just going to put summer training team in there. Okay. Okay, and then you're able also to put the description. In the description, it might be your project mandate that you want to put there. So for the purpose of this, I'm just going to put sorry about that. So for the purpose, I'm just going to put Azure DevOps setup as my description. I'm just going to leave it at that. And then after that, you come to the next level here that says visibility. Okay, so you have two types of visibility when it comes to on Azure DevOps. Okay, so you have the public visibility, which is this one, and then you have the private one. You have the private visibility. What the public visibility is saying is if you decide to choose, visibility is just about who sees what, isn't it? Just like the name depicts. It's all about who sees what. So if you pick the public visibility for your projects, what you're enabling is a situation where it is visible to anyone who has the URL, okay? Anyone that has the URL that puts it on the browser and clicks on it are able to go into that organization's Azure and access everything that is on it. It's open to the public, it's open to everyone. No login is required when you pick the public project. And then, you know, it's a unique URL. Like I said, anybody can access it once they have it. Okay, so that's what the public visibility is all about. Sorry about this. Is all about. And then the private one, with the private one, visibility is limited to users. So it's limited to anyone that has the URL, and you definitely need to log in order to be able to have access to the organization or to the project and the project boards that are in it. So we're going to pick the private one because this is an organization and we don't want it to be public to everyone out there. So we're going to pick the private one, which as you can see, as clicked already. And then we go to the advanced setup. We have an advanced setup. Under the advanced setup, you're able to pick your version control and then the work item progress. So let's take the version control first. Under the version control, you have Git, And then you also have the team foundation version control. So I think before it was updated to Git, they were using the team foundation version control. And this goes, if I'm correct, on the organization server. Okay, but with Git, you know, Git is also kind of a cloud platform. So we're going to use Git. We're going to pick Git for what we need to do because we're a remote team, not a co-located team in an organization on the same place together. And then when it comes to the work item process, you have different work item process there. So what is we're just trying to say is which process do we want to pick? Is it agile? Is it the basic? By default, it comes with basic. And then you have the CMMI, you have Scrum also. All these other ones are inherited process, so I'm not going to go to them. So with Azure, it comes with just 4: Agile, Basic, CMMI, and then it comes with Scrum. So because the project you're on, you're all Scrum team, so we're going to pick the Scrum one. Okay, because each of them has a way the structure will form when you pick it based on what it's talking about. So we're going to pick Scrum because that is a process we're going to work on as a Scrum team. And once all that has been done, you create the project. So you're creating the project board, just waiting for it to come up. Okay, so that's our project board that we've just created right now. Okay, and then over here on the left, you can see all the features that are there. You can see the overview, summary, dashboard, wiki, boards, repos, pipelines, test plans, and artifacts. We can see all that in the panel over there. Okay, and then on the top right over here, you can see invite. So once you created your project, but the next thing you want to do is to invite your members in. So to invite your members, you come over here, and then once you click on that, so I'm going to invite I'm going to invite DG. Okay, so I'm going to invite DG as a member of the team. I'm going to invite Olawumi. And why their emails are coming up is because they've been added as users already to the board. You know, when you start working in an organization, before you do anything, before you're given a seat or anything, you go through HR first. They sort you out, you fill the, you know, the employment things and all that and everything. And before you have access to anything, you might be given a fob to come into the office, you know, your ID card and things like that. That's what Azure has set up. And that's why if you are not a user already on the board, you might not be able to access the board because you've not been added. And that's why you get that invite telling you to join the organization. Okay, so I'm able to pick their names because they've been added as users already to the organization before I'm able to pick them up. Also quickly, I'm just going to pick one more person. I'll pick Buluwatife also to be on my team this night. Okay, and then you can see there that it said add to team. So that is the team. That is the team. That's the project board that I've added them to. Okay, and all I have to do is just to click add over here. And they've been added to the team. Okay, I'm just waiting. As you can see, initially before all these three popped up, the only person there was myself. But because I've added them, it tells you the number of people on your project once you add them in over here. If I go ahead and let me try and add one more just to show you before it comes up. Let me try and put part also on it. Okay, I'm going to do add, and then you will see her joining. You can see joining. So the more you add your team members, then they are able to come up here because they're already on the organization, like I said, as users. And so you're just picking them from there, from the information you have at the back end, the data you have at the back end, and then just putting them on your project board. So that's how you create your project board, and then that's how you add your team members onto it. Before we go further, do we have any question at this point before we go to the next level? No question? Okay. All right. So having done that, the next thing we want to do before we go further is what we call an inherited process. So you want to create an inherited process for your team. I'll explain what an inherited process is. An inherited process is still a Scrum process, but you're creating an inherited, should I call it inherited pathway out of what Scrum has, or what Azure has for Scrum on the board. And why you're doing that is because you want to customize your project board in such a way that it suits your team. And you don't want to do that customization on the Scrum process that is in place. If you do it on the Scrum process that is in place, every other project that is created on the board that picks Scrum would have whatsoever customization you've done. And that is why you don't want to do that. You just want to say, every customization that I do, every configuration I do is limited to just my team. And that's why you create an inherited process, so that it's just your team that is using it. Because remember, the organization, a lot of teams on the organization. So you have a lot of projects, which we'll see later on. You'll have a lot of projects on that organization, and a lot of them might be using the Scrum process. And you don't want anything you do to affect other teams' project board. So that's why you create an inherited process, so that whatsoever customization you do is limited to your own project alone. For us to do that, what we need to do is, if we go to project settings at the bottom over here, you can see project setting at the bottom over there. If I click on that, okay, you can see the information, the details for your team is here. And you can see over here that you have process and it says Scrum. That's the process we picked while we were creating it, okay? So for you to change the process, you click on the Scrum you have over here. Okay, and then it brings you here. So once it brings you here, where you want to go to is you want to view all the processes that are there. So you come to the top over here and click on all the processes, showing you this is Scrum right now. That's the page for the Scrum process, but you want to pick all process because you're trying to change, or you're not change, you're trying to create an inherited process that you would put your project on. So we'll click on the all process over there, and you're able to see all the processes that are there. As you can see, all the processes you're seeing, this is Scrum, and every this sign is an inherited process sign. You can see that under Scrum, there are a bit of other processes over here. These are processes that all the teams have created for their own projects that will suit their own project. So for you to create an inherited process for your own project, all you need to do is to come to the 3 dots in front of Scrum. So not the 3 dots in front of every other inherited process that you have there, but the one in front of Scrum. So you click on that 3 dots over there, and then on the pop-up you have create inherited process. And that's the one you want to click on. So once you click that, it asks you for your the name you want to give your inherited process. And it's better to give it your team name, just for clarification and identification. So for this one, I'm going to call it, what's the name of our organization again? I did summer, I'll call it summer Scrum. Okay, I'm just going to name it Summer Scrum, and then you can just, give it a description, inherited process for, all right. You just put the name of your team there, and then you create the process. Okay, so I'm sure our process is there. If I scroll down, I should be able to see it. Yeah, you can see it here. That's the Scrum. So our process has been created, but if you observe, the project is not on it yet. So even though you've created it, your project doesn't automatically goes on it. So you have to change the process. So your project is still on Scrum, yeah? So what you need to do is to change it to that. And what we need to do that is to come to projects here. If you come to projects here, you click on projects here. These are all the projects under the organization. So we're going to look for our own project, which is Summer Training Team. Okay, and you can see the process that is still there is the Scrum process.
And that is what we want to change. So once you come to your project here and you have the Scrum process there, if you click on the Scrum process, go back to the Scrum process. Okay, so we're in the Scrum process, and then go to the project. The project up here, he's telling you that under this Scrum process, if you click here, you'll be able to see the number of projects that are under this Scrum process. So we click on the project at the top over here, and these are the 2 projects that are under this Scrum process. Okay, and that's our own team that we've just created tonight, the summer training team. Okay, so you come to the 3 dots in front of your own project, yeah, not other person's project, your own project. You come to the 3 dots, you click on it, it says change process. So you want to click on change process because that's what we're trying to do, to change the process from Scrum to the inherited process that we've created. So when you click on the drop down, when it says select a target process, when you click on the drop down, you find all the inherited process that are there and other processes that are there. And then you know the name of the one that you've created for your team, and you pick on that because we've changed it to Summer Scrum, isn't it? And then you save it. And you close. Now you can see that, okay, I'll just wait for it to refresh. Okay, so you can see that previously Scrum has 2 projects on it because we've changed our project to Summer Scrum. Our project is no longer here. So once you've done that, you've created your inherited process, and then you've moved your project to it. So any customization you do or configuration you do henceforth stays on just your own process because it has been moved from the main process, which is Scrum, to an inherited process which you created from Scrum. So that's what we've done. Okay, before we go further again, any question at this point? All right, if there is none, I'll just go further. So I'm just going to go to where our project is so that we go back to our project board. Please post your question also in the chat if you're not able to talk. Okay, so I'm just going to look for a project again. All right, so that's our project. You can see the process has changed from Scrum that was there before to Summer Scrum, which we've moved it to. So after this, also we want to look at our team's configuration, our project configuration, and our team's configuration. Okay, so for us to do that, we click on project configuration that you have here. So you come, this is your project setting. As you can see, it says summer training team, and that's your project setting. So for you to customize or configure your project, this is where you come to click on what you need to do that. So we're going to start with our boards. We want to change some, things from defaults to the way it suits the team. So we want to click on project configuration over here. Okay, so once you see that's the project configuration, and the first menu on the header here, you can see it says iteration. So because this is an organization and there's some things that have already been set up in the organization, that's why you have all the sprints listed all the way to sprint 6, from sprint 1 to sprint 6. Okay, but what you need to do when you want to start your sprint 1, you set the date. So if I click on set the date, now I'm not going to set any date. I just want to show you, if you click on set the date, it tells you it's sprint 1. You're able to click on the calendar, put the start date of your sprint there, close that, and then click on the end date, and then put that there also. By the time you put your start and the end date and you save and close, you would be able to set the date for your sprint. And whatsoever you do at this point goes also onto your sprint board where you're able to set up your sprint. So this has been set there. You want to make sure that everything, it's there the way it's meant to be. So we'll go to the area. So that's iteration. Okay, that's iteration. Your iteration is the same thing as your sprints. Okay, so we go to the area. So the area is just talking about your team. Okay, so if you can see area there, it's just the team, your team. So your team is your area. So you don't need to change anything when it comes to here. So it's just for you to check and to make sure that, okay, everything is the way it's meant to be. So then we go next to our team configuration. So we've checked our project configuration, the body is the way it's meant to be. We're coming to the team's configuration. So when you come to your team's configuration, we start with general. When you start with general, you look at it, the backlog. So you see, it says see only the backlogs your team manages. So where is Scrum team? We want to see a situation where we have a navigation, we have a connection between our epics, our features, and our backlogs. By default, what you're seeing is there is a connection between the features and the backlogs, but there's no, the epic has not been connected to it. So by the time our BA starts working and they want to connect the epics to the feature and then to the story, they won't be able to see the epics because it has not been enabled here. So what you want to do is to also enable that. And then working days. So if you look at the working days also, Monday to Friday has been enabled. For your project team, for the course of this internship, you will be working 7 days. So you also want to enable the remaining 2 days of that. But by default, it comes with Monday to Friday, because that's the normal days you work, out there and all that. But like I said, for the purpose of this internship, already the CEO has said you'll be working 7 days. So you want to enable the Saturday and Sunday also, so that when you create your sprint, it's not counting 10 days. It will be, it's not counting 5 days. It will be counting 7 days because it's a weekly sprint that you will be running. And then at the bottom here, it says working with bugs. And in this one, you have 3 options. Bugs are managed with requirements, bugs are managed with tasks, bugs are not managed on backlogs and boards. Okay, so we're going to leave it at the default, which is bugs are managed with requirements. And what that is telling you is that you're able to manage your bugs. When you raise your bugs, you're able to raise your bugs under the stories with your requirements, okay? Because your requirement is what the BAs use to write the user story. So the user story, your requirement is your user story, just that it's written out in story form so that the developers and the testers can work on it because of the acceptance criteria that have been put in it. So we want to manage our bugs, not with the task, but with the user story. So we're going to leave that there on. So we'll finish what we need to do in the general column. So if we go to the iteration side of things, so this is the iteration. So some things came by default on the iteration that we need to change. And one of it is where you have default iteration. So with default iteration, it comes by default that in your sprint, when you do anything in the sprint, it shows on your sprint board. That's what this at current iterations is telling you. That is the way that's been set up. Now, if you don't change this, the issue you will be having is while you are running a sprint, when your BAs are writing the stories, when they create, the story and they write the story, automatically that story goes into the sprint. And remember, it's a story that during the sprint planning, it has been committed into the sprint because they work ahead of the sprint. Okay, whatever you're working on in a particular sprint has something they've done in the previous sprint. So whatever they are working on during the sprint are things that are meant for the next sprint, or even the work ahead 2 sprints ahead. So if we don't change this default, any story they write keeps going on to the sprint. And then what you would notice when you're looking at your chart is you're having scope increase. The stories are increasing and you're wondering, when did we take this in and all that? You didn't take it in. It's because this default has not been reset. And that's why the stories will be going in. So what we need to do is to change it and put it on the area path. So the area path we want to put it on is that any story they create stays on the backlog. Okay, it doesn't go into the sprint. It stays on the backlog. So you change it from at current iteration to picking your area path. And your backlog is your area path. So we'll pick that. And then you have to click on sets, or else if you just leave it this way, it's just going to revert back to our current iteration. So once you click on sets, it's put it. You can see that the default iteration, we've changed it to summer training team, but your backlog remains summer training team because that's your area path. So the backlog has not changed. So what this one is talking about is your product backlog, while this is referring to your sprint backlog. Now we've changed it that, okay, until the things are put into sprint, after the sprint planning, everything stays on the backlog. That's the changing. that we've just done right now. So that is done at iteration at the area path. Nothing needs to be added there because your area path, that's by default. That's the area path that you have. So you don't need to change anything here. Another thing I wouldn't advise you to change is when you come to template. So if you don't need to add any template, you don't need to add anything for now to your project, except you add things, you come to the template. If the team members, after working, the developer might say, oh, I need you to add this, you know, to the template that we'll be using. I need you to add that to the template that we'll be using. This is where you come to in order to get that setting done. But we're not going to do that right now because the team is not asking for anything to be put on. You know, it's just a new team and you're just setting up the new board. Or it might be, yeah, a new team that has just been formed, but you are the Scrum Master setting up the board. So you won't come to that. So we've done what we need to do quickly with those ones so that we don't waste time. And another thing you want to look at when it comes to permission, also, you don't go there because permission has to do with the organization. So as a Scrum Master, everybody has their permission. The Scrum Master has their own permission. The developers have their own permission, you know, the testers have their own permission, and the organization will set the permission that you use. So you don't control the permission that you used. Most, like they just said earlier on, why most of you were not able to see some of the things on the board is because of the permission that you've been given, though that's been given to your email, and the board has been set that way. So you will have that also when you get to an organization. The things you're able to see, the things you're able to do will be limited based on the role that you are playing in that team. Okay, so we're not going to go into that. And then the next thing we want to also look at is a dashboard. Okay, so right now the dashboard is, everything on the dashboard is disabled. And as a Scrum Master, you will be the one to enable the things on your dashboard. So you want to be able to create the dashboard, you enable it. You also want to be able to edit your dashboard, you also enable that. The one I want to advise anyone to enable is to delete the dashboard, because once you enable this, then any team member going on the dashboard can mistakenly delete it. So you can leave that, don't enable that, just leave that disabled, so that even when somebody click on disabled or anything on the dashboard, they won't be able to delete things. Okay, so we're going to leave that the way it is. So that's the dashboard done. Okay, and then right now we've done most of the basic setting that we need to do. There are some other things that we need to do concerning okay, maybe quickly, since we're still here, let's just quickly go into that. So I'm going to go back to, I think that would be, bear with me, I'm going to go to the teams. Let me go through the teams. We're going to go back to the process because there are some things that we want to look at and configure quickly in our teams. Okay, so you can see the team member. These are the team members that were added. That's how you can view your team members. Okay, so we want to quickly look at, sorry, I'm trying to get the teams. I like the project settings overview. Yeah, okay. So most times when you want to get the project details, just go back to the overview and then you're able to get some things up. So I'm just going to go back to our process because there's some things quickly before we go on our board that I want us to do, which when we go on our board, we'll be able to see how it reflects, okay? So here on our process, we can see at the top where you have the new work item type, okay? Okay, maybe. Right. So that you understand what I'm saying, let me quickly take you first to the board and then I'll come back here. Bear with me. I'll go back to the project board and then I'll come back there. We'll leave. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's go and have a look at our board. We'll come back to the other configuration because if I do this configuration and before showing you the way the board is, it will get a bit confusing. So by default, these are the 4 columns that you have on your board. You have the new column, you have the approved column, you have the committed column, and then you have the done column. Okay, so but you know that you have different team members who, and like we've said, your project board is a board, a a tool that the team uses to collaborate. You use it to plan what you need to do. So for the BAs to plan what they need to do, for the developer to plan what they need to do, the testers and all that, this is the board you do it on. It gives visibility and it gives you transparency, and you're able to track what is going on. You're able to track work, you're able to monitor work. So as it is now, we're going to configure our board in such a way that we give each row an opportunity, a column that it can work on. Okay, so if we go on to do that, you will come to the right over here at the top, and then you can see this cog over here. I'm hovering over it and it says configure team setting. Okay, so he's asking you to configure your team setting. That's what he's telling you to do. Okay, all right, so for us to be able to do that, we're going to click on that. If you click on it, it gives you a pop-up, as you can see. And what, like I said, what we want to do is to add more columns appropriate to our team. So the first place we go to after coming to this setting pop-up that we have is to go to columns. So under board, you have cards and then you have boards. We're going to get to cards later, but let's go to the boards first. So under boards, we want to click on the columns because that's what we want to create. So if you click on columns, so sorry about that. Okay, so as you can see, those are the 4 columns that we have on the board, and that's what is showing us here. So for us to create more columns, what we need to do is to click on the plus that you have here, and it gives you a new column. Okay, so once you click on that, okay, so before I click on that, let me just quickly say that the first column you have here that says new, that represents your backlog. Okay, that represents your backlog. So but let's click on another one, and then you can see that the new column I clicked on, it says column name. It moves, it didn't go before the new column. Yeah, it goes after it. So once you click on the new column, the plus sign here, it comes here, and then you give it a name. Okay, so let's make it a bit interactive, but not too rowdy. Okay, so from the backlog, we have the who can guess the team row that goes after the new column? Who works first? Anyone? You can chat it, anyone, or did if you allow them to unmute? Okay, I think I can pick the BA. Thank you so much, Daniel, for that. All right, I'm just going to close that. So we want to create a column for the BA. So we name this column in BA. Okay, and what we mean by in BA is the works that are in that column is when the BAs are working. Okay, so anything, any stories or anything you find in that column is the BAs that are working on it. So I'm not going to save and close, because if I save and close, this pop-up closes. You can create every column that you want to create first before you close it. Okay, so before I leave that column and create another one, what you want to look at, when we scroll down, you can see it says work in progress limit. So what limits do you want to put? By default, the limit you have there is 5, but you know that the BAs can work more than that. So let's give them a 10. Okay, I will show you on the board later on where that is displaying. And then in BA is asking, you can split it so it can be one column that you're splitting. If I check this now, what I'm saying is it should split it into doing and done. But I want to create in BA and then BA done to separate them because of the work, the WIP limit, the work in progress limits. That's what WIP that you have here, a WIP, that's what it means, work in progress. So because of that, I'd rather have different WIP limits for each process that the BAs are going to work. So right now it says state mapping. So right now, why I said that the configuration I was going to do before I changed my mind is because I wanted to show you this, so that when we do those configurations and then we come back here, you have a better understanding of what is going on. So right now, by default, what you have here is new. It says the state mapping for the bug is new. State mapping for the PBI, the product backlog item, which is your user story, is also new. And then the team is able to put their definition of done here. So you meet once you're having your team chatter, you meet, and then you agree what your definition of done is going to be. So for all the stories that the BA writes and everything, it must be in line with what you have as definition of done. So when that story is moving from this column to the other column, it must have met that definition of done before it goes into the next column. Okay, so you have that there. And then, like I said, we're not going to save and close so that we can create all the other ones. So the next column we want to create again is for the BA, and then that would be their BA done. That means whatever they are working on, which is in progress, is now done. Okay, so that's the column that we're going to create for them. Again, we can increase the WIP limit there because they might be working on even more than 10, but let's just limit it to 10 for now. And again, you can see it's new and new. And then what is the definition of done? For the BA, they're able to put that there also, explain that in a text there. Okay, so I'm going to move this because this should come after this. I'm just going to move it over there. And to move it, all you need to do is click down on that card and then just drag it, just like this, the way you just sent me to. You just drag it to where you want it to be. And that's done. Okay, so after that, so once the BA are writing the story, okay, it's inside this this column. They write the story. Once they are done with it, they put it in BA done. Once it's in BA done, they get in touch with the PO and they said, oh, we've done with the story. We need you to approve it. You need to review it. So the PO reviews the story and he said, okay, yes, you've written it in line with the stakeholders requirements and all that. And then the PO moves it to approve, or the PO can get in touch with them to say, oh, I've approved all those stories in your BA done. Can you just move them to approve? Or mainly the PO moves them to the approved column. So once it's in the approved column, that is the next stage. So it's from the approved column that the team meets when they're doing their sprint planning. So when you're doing your sprint planning, you don't pick stories from BA done in order to deliberate on. It has to be in the approved, because what the approved is telling you is it has been reviewed by the PO, it has been signed off, and that is what we want to work on. That is what we want to read, clarified, and all that before we go into the sprint. When you're doing your refinement meeting also, you look at it from here also. Once you're doing, for example, you can do your refinement meeting, and then there is kind of a story here that is not clear and all that, and the BA still needs to work on it. All they need to do is to take it from the approved column back to in BA to work on it, do what they need to do, put it back in BA done, PO approves, and then it comes back. But from here, from this column, approved column, is when you do your sprint planning. And then we know that after that, what you need to do is to commit it. You put it into the committed column. So in the approved column, I'm just going to go a bit down also. We can change the WIP limit there also to 10. Okay, and then you can see if we move down that the state mapping, the state of it is saying approved. You know, the other one for in new, in BA done was new. But here for approved is showing that it is approved. So in the state, that is what the card, okay, we'll see that later, but that is what the card will be showing you. That the cards that are here would be showing you that it's approved. Also, when you get to committed, again, the definition of done for approval, it will be the same definition of done that you have it that will be coming there. The definition of done for the team is what you'll be having there. And then when we come to the committed column that we have here, so after approve, definitely this is where we commit it to the sprint. I will increase the WIP limit here also to 10. Okay, and then we're not going to split it into doing or done, so it's just committed. And then you can see the state mapping there also is committed. Okay, the other one is approved, the other one is committed. Okay, so from new to approved forms, even though there are 4 columns, all those columns are regarded as your stories in the backlog. Okay, it's only when it gets to committed that is what you're committed to work in the sprint. That is when it comes live. Excuse me, for it to be worked on during the sprint. And if we go further, you can see that the next column you have is done. But we know that after committed, that is when the team starts working on it. So after committed, I'm just going to create another column. What is the person that picks up the story from the committed column to work on? So we've committed to this story, and then who is the first person that works on it? Let's chat. If we are not able to talk, who is the first person that works on it? Anybody? not the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master doesn't work during the sprint. Remember what we did, the demo we did yesterday? Yeah, so the developer, yes. Thanks, Christiana, for that. So it's the developer. Your developer is the first person that works on the story. Is the one that develops what the BA has written in the story, the feature that needs to be developed. So also we want to have an in dev. Let me just shorten it to in dev, okay? So we also have an in dev column. Okay, I can leave that as all right, let me just make everything 10. It might not have a total of 10 stories in there, but it might have more than 5 that are committed into sprints. Okay, so we're just going to make the WIP limit for that also 10. And if you can see, because it's not after the committed, you can see that it's showing approved. Now let's see what happens if I put it after committed. Let's see what the state would be showing us. Okay, that is not, it's meant to show committed after that committed column, but that's not where we're going to take it to anyway, but we will see that later on. Okay, so once it comes after committed, it's meant to show committed in that column. Okay, so after the in dev, what we're going to have the dev done to show that in dev means, oh, the developer is working on it, and then your dev done column tells the team the developer has finished working on it. So when the story moves to dev done, what the developer is saying is that I've finished working on it. You can see that that one has changed to committed, the dev done, because the column was created after the committed. That's why it's showing committed there. Okay. So, but it's not where it's supposed to be. So all we need to do is to move it to go after in dev. Okay, because that's where we want it to be. And then we create another column. Okay, so after the developer finished working on it, who is the next role that picks this up? Let's chat it quickly. Who is the next person that picks this up? Yes, the QA, the tester. Okay, so we're going to create this column for the tester, and then we're just going to put it in QA. Okay, so in QA, let's make this also 10. Okay, and then we'll move it also to go after dev done. Let's quickly do that. So and then we create another column. Yeah, we create another column, and then we call that QA done. So the QA has finished working on that. If the QAs have tested that, you can make that 10 also. We limit to 10, and then we move it across. So that's QA done. Okay, so we're going to create another column. Okay, so who can guess? Because I know once the QA is done, you'll be wondering, so who next? What is done? What do you think is done after the QA? We need, before we get to the last done, what do we need to do? What do we need to put in? Not the sprint review. Okay, so just to, for time reason, all that, it has to be the UAT. So UAT is the user acceptance testing. Most times is done if it's done within the team, yeah, and not by the users themselves. It's done by the PO, or the PO can delegate the BA to do it. And what this test is all about is for the BA or the PO to be able to say the story has been, to make sure that the acceptance criteria is in line, is aligning with what has been created or what has been developed. Okay, so we're going to make this in UAT. Sorry. Oh, I'm just going to call it UAT. We're just going to create one story for it, and we're going to call it UAT. So I'm just going to make that 10. Okay. Some teams have in UAT and UAT done. Okay, so that when it's in UAT, that's when the what needs to be done is done on it. Or some just create one column, which is UAT, to show that that is when the UAT is done. And once the UAT is done, the story goes to the done column. For the teams that create in UAT and UAT done, I'll explain why that is. So when the UAT is being carried out is in UAT, and then when the UAT is done, they put it in UAT done. The PO or the BA put it in UAT done. I'll tell you why they're doing that, and they're not moving it all the way to done. Some Scrum Masters want to check that everything on that story, the task on that story, has been moved along the way they should be moved. So I am a QA. I finished doing my manual test. I moved my tasks to done. I finished my automation, but because I was busy going to my next story, I didn't move my task to done. So my task is still on there. And because the developer's work task has been done, my manual testing task has been done, but the automation is not done. You have a 2/3 on the task that are on that story. Now, the PO comes in to do the UAT. He's just concerned about doing the UAT or the BA. Okay, they do it and then they take it to done. Okay, so there is a task that is active that has gone all the way to done, and that will show on your chart as a Scrum Master. So most times, it's everybody has their preference, but I prefer to create in UAT and UAT done to make sure that everything is completely done before you move it to the done column. When you have a new team that is working, who are still not conversant or still not managing themselves properly, you want to make sure you're checking that and you're not helping them to take that task to done. In the DSU, you're checking with the person working on that story that, okay, so I noticed that this story UAT has been done on this story, but the automation task on it is still active, is still in progress, or is still in to do. And that's when the QA that works on it say, oh, I'm so sorry, I've worked on it, but I forgot to move it and all that. Okay. And then they will tell them to move it themselves. So they are still in that process of managing themselves. Agile is all about continuous improvement and all that. But when a team is matured and they've gotten to that stage where team members know what they need to do, they are self-managing properly and other, even mature teams at times, when you get, I won't use the word overwhelmed, but when you have a lot to do at times, you forget to move your task around. They still forget to do that. And that is why you're there as a Scrum Master, to make sure that you're monitoring things and you make sure that things are moving the way they are. Anything that is not moved accordingly as the way they should on an Azure board or on any other project, on any project board, your charts will bring them up, because your chart is real time, is real life. It will bring it up. So that's why. Okay, so for the course of this internship, let's do that. Let's create in UAT and also create UAT done. Okay, so we're going to create in UAT. And then we're also going to have UAT done. Okay, so I'm going to move that to be, where's the card? Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to move it. So it goes after QA done. And then quickly, we're going to create the last one, which is the UAT done. Okay, and then we take that to go after our in UAT. And then you have the last done. Okay, so that's our columns formed already. Okay, so I'm going to quickly close these. All right, let me change the width limit over there also to 10. Change the width limit here. Okay, that's changed. So I'm just going to save and close so that you see what our board will be showing you. Okay, so those are all the columns that we've just, configured for our board to be. That's the backlog, the new in BA done, approved, committed, in dev done, in QA done, in UAT done, and then the last done. Okay, so that this last column is saying we've completed that particular story. That column is able to show you the number of stories that you've gotten completed. Okay, so I'm going to go back also to the same call, the same setting icon on the top right, so that we are able also now to configure our fields. So the card is the work item cards that are created. It could be the user story card, it could be the task card, it could be the bug cards that are created. We want to create some field. We want it to show some things while it's on the board, and that's why we're coming here. So you can see that right now the product backlog item is the one that is highlighted. So whatever field we create now is going to go into the product backlog. If we want it to go into the bug, we click on the bug, and that is highlighted. But we want to do the product backlog first before we go into the bug. Okay, so by default, the ones you can see on any card that is created, you will see the show ID. You will see show ID as show assigned to as you want to see the avatar and the full name also. So we leave it at that. That's the way it comes by default. But if you click on this drop down, it gives you different, it might be just avatar alone, it might be full name alone, but we want it to show the avatar and the full name. So we're going to leave it at that. By default also, it's going to show you your efforts. By default, you're able to tag team members on it. So, but there are other fields that you can create, you can add to it. So for you to add any fields to it, you come again where you see the plus, that is showing you that add more fields. So if we click on this right now, okay, so another one that you can see that has been added there by default is the state. Okay, so if we click on that, every time you click on that, it shows a new box. So we're just going to click, let's just click roughly about 4, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to go back up and click 1 more 5, and then we'll see the field that we can put in them. Okay, so if we click on the drop down over here, it tells you, it gives you lists, a long list of things that you can add. So we're just quickly going to pick the things we want to see. We want to see the area path, which is our team. Also, I'll click on another one. We know assigned to is there, so we don't need to show that. Bot column is there, so when it moves in different bots, it's able to show it in that for you. Okay, so we want to click on that. Also, you might or you might not, because your bot column also would show the state. So some, once they have the states, they don't pick the bot column in it because it will be showing the same thing. So it's like a kind of a repetition, kind of. So you might pick it, you might not pick it, but let's leave it at that for now. And then you also want to pick your created by. Okay, so anybody that created that particular card, you're able to see the name of the person. So we want to pick that. We also want to pick now effort is there by default, so we'll pick our iteration path. So it will be able to tell us the sprints, what sprint we're in. The sprint is able to show on the particular. And then another thing we can quickly pick is the, I think, I'm not sure if the priority is there. Okay, so we can pick priority. And then I'm just going to quickly add one more so that we can pick the work item also. And then it tells you the work item also that you have there. So we've picked the effort, pick that, pick the priority. The state is there by default. Okay, so like I said, we can just pick the work item. Okay, and then once that is done, so you have another little checkbox at the bottom here. So it says show empty fields. So what this is saying is even when all these fields that we've picked, even when there is nothing in them, if we don't check this box, when nothing is in them, they won't display. But you want a situation where even if there's nothing in them, you still want them to display. And that's why we're going to check this box. Okay, so we've done that for the product backlog item. We also want to, increase the fields that we have in the box also. By default, also it comes with the show ID, the assigned to showing the avatar and the full name, effort, tags, the state is there. So we just want to add some few more states. We will see a bit of difference between this one and the PBI, sorry, the product backlog item one that we've worked on. So we have the state in there also. Over here also, you want to show the area path. Here you want to show also the, bear with me. Sorry about that. Okay, so over here also you want to show the, I'm picking the created by. Sorry, so that we know who created the bug. Okay, so created by, and then we want to also on the card, we want to show resolved by. You can pick it, you might pick it, you might not pick it. You want to pick that. Okay, let's pick severity. So severity talks about the bug you've picked. How severe is it? Is it critical? Is it major? Is it medium? Is it high? Is it low? So that they know how to work on it. So we want to we've picked severity already. State has been picked by default. We can pick the work item type, and then let's go and pick the result by. So in a situation where you have 5 developers working, if you pick resolved by, is able to pick the person that resolved it, the developer that resolved it, in case you want to, you still have a question and things and everything on to talk about on that particular story, even though they are assigned to, would pick the name, but you might pick that also there. Okay. And then, like I said about the checkbox in the in the product backlog item card, you also want to check this one so that even though it's empty, you're able to see things. Okay. So if we save and close right now, what I will do is I'll come to the new column here in order just to show you what we've done, those fields that we've added. I'll pick a PBI. I'm just going to do, I'll write anything on it. I can name it register. Okay, and I'm going to click out. Those are all the fields that we've created. Yeah, those are all those fields that we've created. Now the state, area, path, bot column created by, you can see my name there as created by. If we're in iteration, it will show the sprint here. You can see the priority is there. Okay, and then the work item is telling you is a product backlog item. And then once it's assigned to someone, okay, so I'm just going to click here. These are the members of my team. So if I decide to assign these, that's not here though. So if I'm the BA working on this particular story, I created this story, I'm the one working on this story. Once it's moving to BA, let me move it into BA. Once it moves into BA, you have more than one BA in your team, even though at the workplace out there, you have just one BA working on it. So I want to put my name there. It's assigned to me. I'm the one working on it. If it's in the sprint and maybe we have Laomi and Path being the QA on the team, whosoever one of them is working on it are able to put their name there. So you know, okay, so this particular story, the register story card 4420, who is working on it and everything. And that helps you to know who you are specifically directing your queries to if you have queries concerning that particular story. So that's for the PBI. Also, I'm just going to show you the parts that we've created on the register. So it's a box. I'm going to say cannot register. I'm just going to say that. Okay. So again, you can see as you created it, all those thing that we've put on it, you can see it. You see the state is new, yeah, and then the area part is the same. That's the person that created it. If it's resolved, if let's say did you happens to be the one that resolved this one, we're able to put okay, let me just so to put his name. If we have a long list and all that, I can just start typing his name and then it will come up. Oh, I search. It brings it up, yeah. And then I'm able to put his name. If at the end of the day, when it's resolved, he's the one that resolved that. You can see the severity there. So the severity, if you click on it, you have a drop down. If it's critical, it's 1. If it's high, it's 2. If it's medium, it's 3. And then if it's low, it's 4. Okay. So you're able to see that on it so that the person that is working on it knows, okay, what is done on it. So I'm going to leave this right now here, and then I'm going to go back on the quickly go back on the process in order for us to see what I was trying to. Okay, so let me, before I do that, let me take one of them all the way through so that you can see. So when it's in BA, remember when we were creating the columns, remember the state mapping was new for in BA. In BA done also is new. Approved is new. Okay, so I'm sorry, approved is approved. I think committed will be committed, change to committed. And when it got to committed, you can see that when it was in approved, anything in the backlog shows you gray here. But when it gets committed, it lights up with blue. That shows you it's active. Okay. And then you can see it's saying committed. And then when it gets to in-dev, it's showing, because when we created the in-dev column, we created it before the committed. That's why it's showing you approved there, which basically you can just correct. Okay, see, when I change it, it moved back to committed. Okay, so don't worry. We're going to change the process anyway. So you have that there. And then when you have in dev done, you can see it's just saying committed. Bear with me. And then if we go to in QA, it's saying approved, which again, before we go further, let me quickly go here and make a correction. Okay, so for the ones that are after committed and they are showing approved, you can actually come here to make the correction. Okay, so we know that committed is showing committed, and then the in-dev one is showing approved. So all you do is click on the drop down and change it to committed. Click on the drop down and change it to committed. Okay, for any one of them that is showing approved at that particular place, before you start writing the story, another caution I'm going to say is before your BA starts writing the story, make sure you've configured your board, because you can see the pop-up it says you've changed the state mapping for the PBI. So it would move things around on the board if you do this after the stories have been created, and then they'll start looking for where the stories are. Okay, so this is committed. I think this is approved, so we change it to committed. Which we're still coming back to change again, but when we get there, you'll see it's this committed, and then this will just be done. It's grayed out. So if we save and close, remember when it wasn't, so it takes, you can see that I can't find the story anymore. It's gone. See, it goes to, it isn't done. So if I take it back to here, we'll be seeing committed now, because I've gone into the setting to put committed in all the places where we were seeing approved before. Okay, so if we move it all the way, you'll be seeing committed all the way. So that shows you that, okay, that story is committed to, and it's still blue and all that. And then when you get to done, you move it to done. You can see the color changes to green. So green means it's completed. That particular story has been completed. Okay, so I'm just going to take this back to the new column so that we go on the process, and then we change it such that when it's in the state, it's showing each of the columns when it is in the state, because that would help you when you get to the sprint planning. Sorry, not to the sprint planning, to the sprint board, because on the sprint board, the state will be showing you the exact place where what the state mapping is where is like a status, where are we concerning the story. So if it's in dev, when you are on the sprint board, it will be showing your in dev, and then you're able to run, because your daily stand-up is run on your sprint board. You will be showing your sprint board when you're running your sprint, your daily stand-up. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go back to our process so that we go and configure it in such a way that each card is showing the column and the state mapping. Okay, so we pick the backlog, because the backlog is the one that we want to put the. So if we click the backlog item, the product backlog item, that is the layout. There's some things we need to do in the layout. Also, there are some fields you want to add to the layout. So this is the layout. If we open up the story, this is what you will have inside. This is the layout of the story. You have the description, you have the acceptance criteria, you have the discussion side also of things, and then you have all these there. The priority, the effort, business value area, you have all this there. If you feel, oh, okay, so my team needs to have more things inside. If you want to add, more fields to it, we want to be able to record who is the BA, that worked on it, who is the QA that worked on it, who is the developer that worked on it. These are new fields that you can add to it by clicking the new field here. So if we click on the new field here, if the field we want to create is dev. Okay, so I can just do dev with representing the developer. And then when you come to type here, if you leave it at single, that means you'll be typing the names in, but there is a way you can pick the name from a drop down. And to do that, click on the drop down and pick identity. Okay, so if you click on identity, once you create it, you're able to click on a drop down that would form, and then you're able to pick whoever is working on it. The description, as you can see, it's optional. You can put something in, you cannot put something, maybe to identify the developer and all that, you can put it in, or you can leave it the way it is. Okay, so we can add that field. Okay, so it's saying that because there are other projects on this organization, so it's saying that has been picked already. So I can do, I don't know if it will accept development. Let's see. It's optional. You don't need to put it, yeah. But if it's just a further way that you can create your let's see. Okay, so that has been added, but just know that because any other name I picked, I'm sure there's a lot of names that has been picked already, but that's how you can add more fields to your to the layout of your product backlog item card. But where we're going really is the state, because we want all those columns to be able to show in the state when they're in it. So when you get to the state, you want to add new state again, plus remember, by now you know that when you create, you click on the plus, that's when it comes up. So what state do we want to add in? We know there is new, there is approved, there is committed, and there is done. And we want our stories to be showing when they are in all the other states. So we know that we have NBA, isn't it? NBA there. So we want to put NBA there. Okay, so what category did our NBA falls in? Is not in process, it's in proposed. The category for NBA is proposed. Okay, remember, these are stories that are being proposed, to be worked on, that are being proposed to be committed to. So it doesn't go into in progress. So we leave it at proposed, and then the color, we don't change it. It's still gray out because it can't be blue because it's not committed to. And then you create that. And then you can see our in BA where it's come to. It's come under the proposed. So we create another one for BA done. Okay. Again, it's saying in progress, and we know it's not in progress yet. It's being proposed. So we create that. So we have our new in BA done. We know approved is the next one. So for our proposed, you have it completed. Then you create another one, which would be our that would be our in-dev, isn't it? Okay, so for our in-dev is in progress because it is committed to already. Okay, so it's in in-dev, and then you can see because we picked in progress, the color has changed to blue. Okay, so we create that, and you can see it's joining the category of the works that are in progress. Again, quickly, we do the one for the dev done. It's in progress also, so we create that. We do quickly for in QA. It's also in progress. You create that, and then we do for QA done in progress. We create that in UAT. Okay, and UAT is in progress. We create that, and then UAT done. Is in progress also, and then we create that also. So we've created the state mapping for all our PBIs, all our product backlog items, and where they are going to fall into. So once that has been done, if you notice, again, I will talk about it, but I'm talking about it so that we don't do anything. And if you want to set any rule for your product backlog, you're able to set a rule here for your product backlog, but we're not setting any rules and all that for now. We're just doing, the basics. So that is done for the product backlog item. And we have two cards. We have the product backlog item, and then we also have the bug. So the one we've done is just the product backlog item. Quickly, we just pick the bug also. If you need to add layout, again, you're able to add layout here, but we're looking at the state. Okay, so for our bug, the state, you have the new, again, new, approved, committed, and done. Okay, but we want to add, we want to configure our project so that when it's in progress, we want it to display in the state mapping as being active. Okay, so we're going to put active there. We're going to put active, and then when we put the active, we can change the color to be red because it's a bug, isn't it? So like I said, you can configure it as you want. So we want to pick a red to say when is in progress is active. Okay, and then we want to show it as red, and then we put that there for our bug. And also we want to create another state mapping in there. We want to call it closed. Okay, so what we're saying is, even when it is in the category, we still want the category to be in progress. So we want a situation where once I'm going to pick the green. So what we're saying is once the QA is done with it, when it's in, okay, so we will see where we'll put it, but what we want when it's active, when it's in dev, and when it's in dev done, it's showing active and is red. When it's in QA, when the QA is retesting the bug, it's still showing. When it gets to QA done, we want it to be showing the state mapping as closed, and it's showing it as the color is green, because for your bug, the UAT is not done on it. So once it's in QA done, the QA themselves can move it all the way, really. Once they're done with it, they can move it to done. Or once it's in QA done, because it's showing this process, then the Scrum Masters can confirm from the QA working on it to say, oh, I noticed that particular bug is closed and is in QA done. Are you done with it? Oh, yes, I'm done with it. Everything is fine. And then you can just move it all the way to done. So your bug doesn't fall into in UAT, because the BA or the PO doesn't do user acceptance testing to your bug. They do it to the story, not to the bug. Okay. So we've created all those. And then what we need to do now is to go back on the project so that we're able to put them properly in those columns that we've created. Okay, so we go back to, just go back to the project. To pick up projects from our training. Then we go on our board. So once you click on the board here, it shows you, okay, it shows you the board, the backlog, the sprints, the queries, and every other thing. So you want to quickly click on the board. Okay, so before we can see what we've done, you need to also come back here. So I'm just going to quickly close that off. So we come back here to the board, because that advanced configuration we've done, we want to see it here. Okay, so once the card is here, it's showing in new, and then one is in BA. Because of what we've done now, I'm able to change it to be in, okay, because bug, there is no MB in bug, remember? The BAs don't work on bugs, okay? So we were telling it change the state mapping to in BA when it's here, okay? And then when it's in BA done, we don't want it to show new again. We want it to show in BA done. And then one is in its approve is okay. Committed, it's okay. The next one we want to change is when it's in dev. Okay, we don't want it to show committed anymore when it's in dev. We want it to show in dev. When it's in dev done, we don't want it to show committed anymore. We want it to show dev done. When it's in QA, we want it to show in QA. When it's in QA done, we want it to show QA done. When it's in UAT, sorry, bear with me. When it's in UAT, we want it to show in UAT. And then when it's in UAT done, we want the state mapping to display UAT done. Okay, and that's the one for the, bear with me, that's the one for the, yeah, that's the one for the PBI. Okay, so we're going to do the same also for the, yeah, okay. So we're going to do the same also for the bug that we've created. So if you go to click on the bug also, sorry. Okay, yeah. So for the, the one we just did was for the PBI. I should have stayed on it anyway, sorry about that. So for the bug, once is in dev, what we said we want to see when the bug is in dev is not committed, but we want to see it as active. Okay, so we click active. When it is in dev done, we want the bug to still show active. When it's in QA, we want it to still show active. And then when it gets to QA done, it shows closed. Okay, so for it in UAT and UAT done, I'm just going to put it in closed, not because it's going in there, but peradventure, if it ends up there, we don't want it showing committed so that it doesn't confuse anybody. Okay, looking at it, it's not meant to be in those columns, but we're just going to put it there like that. So if I save and close, and then we move things around, we're able to see what we've just done. So in BA, you can see the state mapping is now showing in BA. BA done is showing BA done. Approved, it will show approved. Committed, it will show committed. In dev, it will show you in dev. Dev done is showing dev done. In QA, it's showing in QA, and so on. Okay. In UAT done, and then when it gets to done, it shows done. Okay. Just quickly going to take that back to new. And then the one we've done for the bug, I'm not going to take the bug through the BA and all that because they don't work on it. So I'm just going to take it all the way to from approved. So if the bug is approved to be worked on during the sprint, you'll see it there. When it's in committed, it's committed. And then when it goes to in dev, it's showing active and it's red. So say that bug is active, needs to be worked on, is active, we're working on it. When it's in dev done, it's still showing active. When it is in QA, it's still showing active. And then when it gets to QA done, it's changed to closed. So that means the QA have tested it, everything is passing. If everything is still not passing, they won't take it to QA done, they'll take it back to dev with an information why it's not passing and all that. And then when I said when peradventure, it shouldn't pass through these two columns, but if it does, it's still going to be showing we've set it, configured it in such a way that it will still show closed, it will still show closed, and then when it's taken to the end, it shows done. Okay, so just gonna take that also back to new. So that's basically most of that's the board setup. Okay, so for the sprint, if you are on the, I've shown you where we're on the project setting, how you can set the date for your sprint. If anything has been committed to, okay, the first thing you need to do is to set the date. So I'm just going to set a default state so that you can see how your story, when you put them into sprint, how they display on your sprint board. So I'm just going to set a default state for sprint 1. Okay, bear with me. I'll make it today. Okay, so I'll set it for today till set it from today till Sunday. Let me just do that. Okay, and then I'll save and close. Okay, yesterday when Laomi was showing you through the sprint planning, she showed you how to put your team members. Okay, you can see all the team members there, and then the capacity and everything that you put there. And yesterday, when she was trying to show you also how you put a date, she wasn't able to do it because this the date was not set on the board that we were using. Now that we have a date, let's assume that DJ is taking tomorrow off. It's not going to be able to work tomorrow, and then you can see that we've put the date there, and you can see it's saying total 1. Okay, days off, you can see it's saying total 1 because we've set the sprint date now. It's able to calculate that, and then you can do okay. So that's for individual teams day off. When is the team's day, team day off, maybe there's a bank holiday and all that, you're also able to set that. Just put the bank holiday and all that, and you put it there, and that reflects on the capacity, and then you save. Don't always forget that you save before you go ahead. Okay, so that was that's that. And then if we go back to the board, just to show you how your story, okay, so this is the only story we have. Let's assume that's the only story we're taking on. So your story is on the approved column. There is a way the way you run your query before you take it into the done, so that we're able to see what we did yesterday quickly. I think the only thing we didn't do yesterday was to show you how to run a query. So I'm just going to show you how to run it, but I'm not going to go into the estimation board because that was done yesterday. So for you to run a query on this particular story, you come here where you have queries. If I click on queries, and then I want to run a new query. Okay, I need to run a new query. So if I click on new query, okay, so these are the filters, these are the things that I want to use to run my query. So the query I want to run is I want to run the product backlog story, the user story that is under approved. because that is where the stories that are under approved column is what we do our estimation on before they go into the committed column. So I want to run a query for that. So the first line here, you can see it says the field, the work item type. So what work item type do I want to run this query on? I want to run it on a PBI. So I'm going to pick product backlog item. That's what I want to run it on. And then I want to run it on the state. Which states do I want to run it on? The approved column. So you can see the state is there. If you want to pick any other thing, any other queries that you need to run, all you do is you click on the drop down and then you're able to see it. You see the test sheet type and all that. I think when you get into your BA classes, they will be able to give you more on that. You'll have all the other things there that you can run your query on. But like I said, what we want to run it on the PBI. So he's asking us on what type of the work item. So we have PBIs there, we have bugs, we have tags, but we want to run it for the PBI. So we pick that, and then we're picking the state also. What states do we want to run it on? And then you come here, we know it's the approved column that we want to run it on, put it there. Okay, and then we should be able to run our query. If we're not able to, then that means we, okay, so you can see the only story we have sitting in our approved column is the register story. So you can see that we're able to run it. We've run the query to say, I need you to filter this out, and it has filtered it out. If you have more than one stories in there, any other number of stories you have there will be showing at the bottom here once you run your query. And then now that you've run a query, we want to save that query. So once you click on save, it says give it a name. Okay, so because it's in the approved column, I can say approved PBIs. Okay, and then what folder do I want to put it on? For us to do the estimation poker, I'll put it on the shared. Okay, shared queries. So if I do approved PBIs, there is a lot of team that has approved PBIs. So I can write the name of my team or the initial of my team, do STT. Sorry about that. STT, okay, it's not gonna accept. Let me see if it's gonna accept underscore. Yeah. So I can do STT, that's the same approved PBIs. And then when I put it on, because the shared query is a query that is shared by all the teams. So you want to be able to see your own underneath it when you're there. Okay, so once that has been done, you save it. And once that is done, when you're doing your estimation poker, you're able to open the shared query and then pick your own, the folder name that we've created now, and be able to see all the PBIs that you want to estimate, which are under your approved column. That is how there's a lot that has to do with running query. I'm just saying quickly doing this because that running a query is not our focus really for this bot setting, but it's part of the things that you need to set up that would help your team get your team ready for what they need to do. Okay, so once that has been done, let's go back to the Springboard. So I'm going to just manually put the main board really, because I just want to show you. Okay, so let's assume we've deliberated on this and then we've just estimated 5 for it. We put an estimate of 5 on it, and then we commit it into the sprint. So we've moved it into the sprint, and then you go on the view as backlog at the top. So you can either view it at the top or you can come to the panel here to view it. Okay, I'm just going to close this. Okay, so that is the story. That's our backlog. Okay, anything, like I said, anything at the back, you have it under your backlog. Okay, so if you even though we've moved this into the committed column, you can see that the area path is still showing the it's still showing the area path instead of showing the iteration path. So for you to move it into the sprint that we've created, click on these 3 dots. Yeah, and then you come to move to iteration. Once you come to move iteration, you're moving it away from the backlog, which is showing at the top, and then you're moving it to the sprint that we've set, which is sprint 1. So once you click on that, you can see it has changed to sprint 1. So if we go on our sprint board now, let me click on the sprint board. That is the story in your sprint board. So this forms your sprint backlog. And this is where, when you are having your daily stand up, this is where the Scrum Master, this is the board you want to show that would be able to tell the team how, where you are with what you're doing and all that. And this is what they use to create their task. Okay, so that story has been moving to sprint. The developer wants to create a task to say, okay, I'm carrying out development work on this one. The developer can do developing. I'm just going to put that there so that you can see it, and then we can put manual testing on this one. Okay, just leave it at that too. So that this belongs to the developer. Okay, and then the title will tell them what they need to do. This belongs to the manual, the manual test for the QA and all that, and then they're able to assign it. So by the time they put their name here, if I put it here for the tester, and if I put part here for the developer, it's showing who is working on it. Okay, and then remember why we had to do all those state mapping that we did when we were on the main board. Once the story starts moving, let's assume that the story now is no longer in committed, is in dev. When you share your screen during your DSU and all that, who is, once it's in dev, you expect the developer, you expect Pat to come here and move the story from here to in progress. Okay, so this shows you, okay, so Pat is working on it and everything, because it's in dev. So if it's in dev, the story is in dev, and then the task is here. And this is where Pat gives you the update to say, oh, you've moved it to in dev. That means if it's in dev, that means you're working on it. But your task is saying that you're still in to do when it's meant to be in progress, or should have moved. And that's when you get your update. Or why is your story still, can you just give us updates why the story is still in to do when it's already in your column, you're working on it? Because in dev means it's in progress, you're working on it. So those are just a few points on how you run your daily stand-up and how you create your story, your task, and then you move them along from the main board. So you have the main board, which is this board is your main board. Okay, and then the other one that I've just moved from now, that is the sprint board. Okay, so I guess the only thing, another thing that we need to look at, because this organization has projects on it already, there's some things that you might need to put on it that are on the marketplace, Azure DevOps marketplace. You should be able to get to the marketplace through your dashboard also. But a lot of things that would have gone to pick on the gallery and the marketplace, they're already on the board because they are projects that have been on the organization before. So because when you go to the marketplace and you pick things, you're not putting it on your project. Anything you install from marketplace goes actually on the organization. So every team member that is on that organization are able to make use of that particular feature. So that has been done. Okay, so another thing we can do is to go and create our wiki. So when you hover over overview, you're able to see the 3 columns and all that. You can click on it also, and then it will give you the drop down here. So when you click on wiki, okay, so you can see, because it's a new project, it doesn't have the wiki page already. So you create your project wiki by clicking on create project wiki on the page. And then you give it a title. Again, we can give it a group title. You can give it your group title. You can make it, you can be creative with it. Okay, you can make it. I can make it all right. I'll do the initial, sorry, that's STT into information hub. I can call it library. I can call it information center. You can be creative with it, and you can just put your team name on it, depending on how you want your wiki to be. So that's the wiki being created over there. We've put the name on it. Then I save that. I close that, I save that. Okay, so that's STT Information Hub. Any other sub page that I want to come on it, all I do is click on the 3 dots that you have here. and then I can add a subpage to it. So this subpage, I can call it same information. Okay, and then you put all the information you want to put here. Okay, so anything you want to put, roles / names, anything you put here. So this is like the back end of your wiki, and then anything you put here is actually displayed here. So when we save and close, you don't see this aspect anymore. It is the front end of things that you will be seeing. And then you're able to add the names of your team members, their roles. You're able to have your the mandate, what your mandate is all about, and everything. So this is where you put your team charter. This is where you put any information, any document you have for the team. This is where you put it on. Okay, so because we didn't put any names and everything, that's why all you can see is just the roles and names that I typed in, and nothing else under it. So you can create a page for the BAs, call it BA repository, developers repository, QAs repository, and then it will be information from those team members that you're putting there. You can create a subpage for your team charter, any information. That is your information hub, that any member of the team, if they need information, they go to and they're able to get the information. You get a new member to the team that needs to update themselves and all that part of your onboarding process. As a Scrum Master, you tell them to read the information you have on the hub. So that's how you create your wiki, and that's how you add information to them. Okay, so quickly before, I'm just going to edit it because I just want to quickly show you things. You're able also to attach documents. You can see all the things you can do. You can attach a link. I think there's one for you attaching a link. Yeah, that's the one for you to attach a link and all that. And then you can attach a file also onto it. You can create a table on it and everything. So you have all those features there. Okay, I just quickly want to show us that before we go to the dashboard. Okay, so that's for the wiki. And then for the dashboard, so because of the things we've enabled doing on the dashboard, we enabled it to be able to create. Okay, so we can add widgets. So this is a dashboard that doesn't have a widget yet. So if you add widget to it, it will give you all the widgets that you can add on this side of things. So you want to add a burn-down chart to your board, you click add. When you highlight it, you click add, and then it will add it to it. You want to add a burn-up chart, you click on add, it's able to add it to it. If the KOs want to add a chart for the test plan, they're able to add it to it. Chart for work item, you're able to add it. So once you click highlight it and you click add, it will add things on the board for you. Cumulative flow diagram, if you want to add it, and these are your metrics that you want to use, to monitor the team. Okay, so you're able to add all that in. You're able to add details of your team members also. I think that's at the bottom somewhere. Bear with me. Your sprint capacity, it will give you a chart for the team capacity. Your sprint goal widget, that shows it also. Yeah, that's the one for the team members. It's to show you all your team members. If you want to add a sprint overview, I'm just adding some few things. Velocity charts. Okay, so let's just, and once you've done everything you want to add on it, to close this panel up, all you do is click on done editing at the top there. That closes it, and then you're able to see everything that we've added to the board. Because there nothing that has been worked on yet, that's why these are all showing that, we created the sprint, but we didn't put the sprint goal, and that's why it's telling you no goal set yet. So once you put your sprint goal, as Laomi showed us yesterday, you'll be able to see that displayed here. These are the team members. That's the initial of all the team members, and if you hover over it, it will be showing you the names of the team members. So that's one of the widgets we added. The velocity also, because we've created a sprint, you can see it's putting sprint 1 and the planned. This is what we've planned to do, and it's showing incomplete. As you can see, the deep blue is incomplete. So if anything has been completed, it will either show a bit of green, it will show a bit of green until everything is totally completed. And that's your velocity chart. I know you've not talked about chart yet, but that's just to show you the charts that you add onto your dashboard, and how you create your dashboard, and how you add widgets to your dashboard. Okay, so I think that's all the basic things. Okay, so really, let's quickly look also at, I'm just going to go back on the board, and then we'll just look at our retrospective board also. Okay, so over here, you can see you have your retrospective. On the panel. So for you to see your retrospective, for you to see your queries, sprints, backlog, boards, work item, you have to click on this green board, the main board, and then it shows you all the features, all the things that you have under it. So over here again, you can see, because we've not created anybody, so it's not created. So to create your board, you click on board, you're able to put the sprint, the particular sprint you're on. So we're on, if it is the end of our sprint 1, you create your board, the number of votes, because there are votings that are, once you're going through retro, also you have an understanding of this, but just to show you how the board is created. So you want to put 10 votes per member, okay? And then you want to remove some of the things that are here. Also, just leave do not display name of in feedback. So if you don't want it to display the names of the people that are going to post on the board, you can put it there. And then you have the different templates. Okay, so I'm just going to work with this template for now so that you can see how it comes up on the board. Okay, so there are other things that you can just create on that. So let's just create it, because I just want you to see how so that's your sprint, that's your retrospective board set. And you can see saying sprint 1, it's showing you the name of your team there, and it's showing sprint 1, and then they're able to add their postings. So if it was good collaboration or one of the things that went well during the sprint, anything they're able to, just to show you that okay, so that also could be done there. Okay, so that's our setup done for tonight. Okay, do we have any questions before I stop sharing? Okay, you can see some chats in there. Okay, I might need to, okay, sorry about that, let me stop sharing.